Joining us now from the Concerned Veterans for America, one of their key advisors, Jason Redman. He also served 2 theaters in the Iraq and Middle East conflicts. He is a wounded warrior. He's been on our show many times, been in studio, and we welcome him today. Hey, Jason, it's been way too long.
John, yeah, absolutely right. Thanks for having me on, as always. I hope you're doing well. How are things?
Never better. We're going to go to CVA in a minute, but take your CVA hat off. I've got to get to this Captain Khan and his father and the whole thing that's going on. He's all over the news. We all feel terrible about his son, obviously, for any U.S. soldier or serviceman or woman that's been injured like yourself or came home in a body bag. But where are we going with this thing now?
Well, having served 21 years in our military and having lost a lot of my brothers, one of the greatest things about the military, and it's so disturbing for me to watch the state of our country, this just tremendous amount of division that's occurring, racial divide, political view divide. One of the great things about the military is there is no race, creed, color, religion. We all go over there and you're unified in a direct purpose and goal, a mission to go out and execute and take out the enemy. And, I had the great honor to serve with guys from all different religions, races, and they were my brothers. And we went in and we crushed the enemy. So definitely disturbing to see, Captain Khan's family kind of to be attacked in that way. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't think any Gold Star sacrifice should ever be lessened. An American service member that goes over there and fights for this country, his loss or her loss is a loss to the nation. And there's so many Americans all the way back from the very beginning of our country who are willing to fight for freedom and who have gone on many foreign shores to fight for that freedom and fight for the freedom of even other citizens who laid down their life for that. And Captain Khan was an example of that.
Jason, if you were advising Mr. Trump right now, what advice would you give him going forward? My advice, and I don't want to pick sides and say I'm going to advise Trump or I'm going to advise the other one. Obviously, Concerned Veterans for America is a non-political group, so I don't want to get into that. I will say this, that for any presidential candidate, you are, or you will be, the job of the President of the United States, one of the most amazing titles that they carry. And I think the title that carries the most responsibility is Commander-in-Chief. And I think when people think of that, I'm not sure they truly understand what that means. But Commander-in-Chief means you are in charge of all our armed forces. And you make the decisions on where and when our men and women are utilized to fight the enemy of the United States of America. So I think for any candidate, it is absolutely critical that they understand what that means and that they make those choices wisely on when and where we send our troops in. And if we do that, they do it and enable our forces to go in and win. I mean, at the end of the day. And then beyond that, they truly understand what those sacrifices are. When we talk about going in and winning wars, when we talk about going in and executing campaigns and executing missions, there is a cost to that. War is not some clean thing. I think it's an unfortunate time right now that at times I think the American people are starting to buy into this idea that we can do these surgical strikes to conduct warfare, that we can utilize drones and aircraft and things like that, and we can truly mitigate the amount of losses that we have. And of course, we try and do that to the highest level. But when you truly talk about going to war and fighting, at the end of the day, it is one man shooting at another. And when you get down into the weeds of it, we're going to lose people. And it is the President of the United States, it is the Commander-in-Chief's job to honor and respect that at the highest level. Every sacrifice is an impact on our nation. It tears a small fabric of of the United States of America away, the loss of one of our service members, because these are some of the best and brightest our nation has to offer. They raised their hand. They volunteered. We do not have a draft. They signed up, and they said, I'm willing to go fight for this country. And it is whoever that commander-in-chief's job is to always, always, always honor that sacrifice, respect that sacrifice, and understand the tremendous responsibility they have as the commander-in-chief of our country.
All right. Well, that's very well said, Jason, and I really respect what you're doing, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Jason, Jeff Miller, chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, yesterday going bananas, trying to figure out why the VA spent $20 million on ornamental furnishings while veterans are dying waiting in line. What the hell is going on here?
Well, it's just a continued breakdown of the VA. I mean, the VA, for years, for the last 8 years, has continued to have problem after problem after problem. From the wait lists that were, the secret wait lists that were being held in the Phoenix Hospital to the Denver VA hospital that is now over 700. I believe we're up to almost close to over $700 million above budget. I mean, these bloated budgets, veterans' wait times are getting longer. Despite anything that's out there, the reports, President Obama trying to say that, hey, this has gotten better under my watch, that's false. The facts do not support it. Our veterans are waiting longer. The problems are getting bigger. And now this is compounded by, we're coming to find out, and actually this came to light back in 2015, and that's why Representative Miller was, lost his mind, because back in October they asked, what is going on? Why are we getting reports that $20 million is being spent on artwork and ornamental fixtures, sculptures, things like that at these VA facilities, when we have veterans who still aren't getting the best health care they deserve? And obviously yesterday he said, I'm over it. I'm willing to subpoena because they've been asking for answers and the VA isn't providing it. Secretary McDonald, President Obama wanted to praise him. I think he is an absolute failure. And I think he should be asked to step down, and they should bring in somebody who is truly willing to display leadership, display conviction, to display accountability, because these are the things that are not happening. Secretary McDonald is so out of touch with our veterans and my fellow wounded warriors and disabled veterans when he makes the statement that, hey, people expect to stand in lines at Disney World, and compared to this to the VA. What a travesty, and what a slap in the face to every veteran to say that, hey, your service and sacrifice, that you should be willing to stand in line, because if you want to go to an amusement park, you expect to stand in line. So when you're waiting for life-saving health care, you should expect to stand in line also. The comparison is absolutely atrocious and ridiculous, and is a direct reflection on Bob McDonald's leadership. And even, a greater highlight, once again, coming full circle to the current failures of the VA.
Well, Miller yesterday said his own committee had uncovered nearly $7 million in expenses related to decorating rooms at one VA facility in Palo Alto, California. So they don't respond to requests for information. Now Miller's going to subpoena them. McDonald was supposed to go in there to reform it. He's become the defender of the perverse bureaucracy. And the fact that Obama is saying things are getting better. $7 million on artwork in one facility. It's egregious, Jason. It's gross. And it's outrageous. And nobody will do a damn thing about it. How many times have we had the same conversation over and over and over? Doesn't matter who comes on, yourself, Sean Parnell, any of you guys, we have the same conversation and we end up in the same place. Nothing happens.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's why Concerned Veterans for America is so focused on, all the things that impact our veterans. But one of our key focus, obviously, is the VA. Our service members were willing to go out and fight for freedom. And when they come home, and especially for those who have been disabled and wounded, they deserve the best health care they can get.
Right.
And the VA system should be there for them to provide that health care. And repeatedly over these last 8 years, and even longer, we have highlighted, hey, there are problems with the VA. Our guys are not getting the best health care. We need to do that. So, on the accountability issue with us bringing forth even laws that we could get rid of and hold accountable senior leaders within the VA, and then the VA coming back and saying, hey, we're not going to follow those laws. We're not going to utilize this expedited process to get rid of those who have egregious violations, such as, the Phoenix leadership that allowed those wait lists. And then that continues with all the different problems with the VA, with being able to get our service members the appointments they need, the mental health support they need. So this is why we are so focused on pushing for reform within the VA, reform and accountability. These are truly the things that have to happen in order for the VA to move forward. And that's going to be new leadership, and it's going to be a president, whoever that may be in the future, who is willing to truly look at the VA and say, okay, we need to hold people accountable.
Well, that's what
we need strong budgets. We need strong fiscal oversight. And we need to make sure that the focus is on taking care of our warriors and not all this other, superfluous stuff that's out there. The Denver hospital.
The bottom line, Jason, we're out of time, is you go down the same path, you end up in the same place. That's why we need change at the top to make this work. We're out of time. More info, go to cv4a.org. cv4a.org. Concerned Veterans for America. I want to thank Jason Redman for being with us. Stay with us.